While ESTPs may be physically restless and need to move their bodies more, ENTPs are more intellectually restless and need to learn more. ESTPs tend to be far more attuned to sensory experiences than ENTPs in spite of any appearances to the contrary. ENTPs tend to be more optimistic about the future than ESTPs. ESTPs are very down-to-earth and engaging. ENTPs are also very engaging, though they are nowhere near as down-to-earth as they may seem. ENTPs seemingly have thousands more ideas than ESTPs. ESTPs tend to be faster both physically and mentally, allowing them to frequently beat ENTPs in a debate or argument due to their quicker mental processes. ENTPs tend to have better memories than ESTPs. ESTPs take more physical action and also have more energy than ENTPs. ESTPs tend to focus on practical things. However, ENTPs focus on a wider range of things than ESTPs, including both the practical as well as the theoretical. ESTPs are more inclined to learn from experience and actually doing things, instead of reading or theorizing about them. In contrast, ENTPs are more likely to use a variety of methods to learn, such as reading or speaking with others to find new perspectives. ESTPs are more confident and secure in both their bodies and their health. ENTPs tend to be less secure about their bodies, at times believing that they have serious physical ailments when they actually don't. When it comes to both themselves and others, ESTPs place great value on authenticity, whereas ENTPs place greater value on maintaining emotional detachment regardless of the circumstances. A small percentage of both ESTPs and ENTPs may engage in extreme sports, though for potentially different reasons. ENTPs are more likely to engage in them if they can learn something new. ESTPs tend to engage in extreme sports only if they can't get enough stimulation from more ordinary activities. Both ENTPs and ESTPs crave freedom and autonomy and have a tendency to disregard the rules if they interfere with their desires and goals. Though both are extroverts, ESTPs need the company of others more than ENTPs, who in turn need substantially more time alone. Both types can be social chameleons, although ENTPs show more social flexibility than ESTPs. Although both types are highly competitive, ESTPs tend to be even more so, even with themselves. ENTPs tend to have a much wider variety of interests than ESTPs. Consequently, ENTPs tend to learn about a large number of subjects with an emphasis on the fundamentals. In contrast, individual ESTPs tend to have knowledge that is more concentrated in a noticeably smaller number of areas, though perhaps in greater depth. ESTPs start significantly fewer projects than ENTPs, but end up completing a noticeably higher percentage of them. ESTPs tend to particularly dislike weakness in others. ENTPs tend to particularly dislike people who don't give them enough verbal feedback. While both types are highly skilled at using persuasion to get their way, ESTPs are more likely to employ a decidedly physical element while doing so. ENTPs tend to have much wider and varied skill sets than ESTPs. While both types are great at reading a situation, ESTPs tend to be noticeably better at reading people, while ESTPs tend to be better at taking charge of a situation. ENTPs tend to be better at inspiring others. Both types are willing to break social norms. ENTPs, however, can be significantly less predictable than ESTPs when doing so. ESTPs primarily focus on using tactics, while ENTPs tend to employ more strategic thinking. Collectively, ENTPs are more willing to experiment than ESTPs. ESTPs are great at making sure that both their behavior and demeanor is attractive, even when they are doing something totally wild. For ENTPs, maintaining appearances may not be as high of a priority. ENTPs are more willing to engage in a larger variety of novel experiences than ESTPs. In turn, ESTPs are more likely to repeatedly engage in variations of familiar experiences. While both types tend to have large social networks, ENTPs tend to have networks that are more varied in nature. ESTPs, in contrast, will tend to have stronger bonds with a larger number of people.